So I want to come on here and explain what it is to actually work with your intuition, because recently I had someone in the comments just telling a bunch of divine feminines, reach out if you want. This is about your intuition. You don't need anyone to tell you what to do. This is about following your intuition, and you can just reach out. And while, yes, this is absolutely about your intuition and not needing anyone to tell you what to do, the journey is about learning how to use your intuition and how to build that relationship. Because up until this point, you have been operating from a very mind and ego-based way of living. And most of us don't know how our intuitive system works. We haven't been listening to our intuition at all for most of our lives, and every time we went along with something, every time we didn't speak up, every time we just sort of just like, all right, I guess everyone else is fine with this, so I guess I'm fine with this, that weakened our ability to listen to our intuition because we weren't listening then. And that was stored in the body, those moments where we didn't go along with that guidance estranged us from ourselves. And it made us not trust ourselves. And that is why you will feel scared and vulnerable with what's happening outside of you, because you don't feel like you can trust what's going on, but you're also not trusting yourself. And you're confusing yourself with getting this one guidance to not do that, but then doing it. That's an act of self-betrayal. And we do this enough that adds up. And now we really have estranged ourselves, weakened ourselves, severed ourselves from our own intuition. And those bonds are there to repair, absolutely. They're not, broken. Your soul is incredibly strong. And the reason you woke up, and you did, is so that you could start building that relationship with self, with your inner self, by going within and healing these aspects of self that you rejected or you outright left behind, forgot about, abandoned. Yeah, we start to bring all of this back in and bring compassion there, bring love there, bring understanding for how we acted in certain situations, and really seeing what it served, what that lesson was really about that we needed to learn. Because when we're living in mind-based ego, up until the point that we wake up and we start to shed those layers, having that ego death, those dark nights of the soul, that period in which we were not awake, we were asleep, we were unconscious, we were going through things that were valuable for our soul. It's not like our soul wasn't there for that. There were certain lessons that we needed to learn because we needed that knowledge, we needed that experience. But then when you wake up, you start to be able to see those lessons for what they were, what they served, and seeing it all as a part of helping your soul's growth, right? That's what it was there for. And you take that higher perspective, and now you can see how it was all helping you expand in a beautiful way and perfectly orchestrated. And you couldn't have done it if you were just awake that whole time. It wouldn't have worked like that. So that is to say that yes, you do start to build up This way you work with yourself and you start to trust yourself. And then it is very natural for you to just follow your intuition and know what you need to do in certain situations, because you know how to listen to your body. You know that inner voice, and you also get that divine guidance. You are able to receive it and act from it. But until you are doing that, until you are really have been practicing that, you have refined that skill, if you are in that addictive energy, if you are still obsessing over your twin, you're going to confuse intuition with the mind and ego, with that fear that is rising in you. And that need to reach out is coming from that place of fear, and it's coming from a separation consciousness, because you learn that this is coming up to not react from, but actually to alchemize, to be lifted out of your body. There's a siren. 222. Pause. So, you then, when you start to observe that rather than react from it, no, you're not going to be tempted to reach out when you're feeling vulnerable or where you're feeling that pull, okay? And that isn't the same as your intuition telling you to reach out. Early on, you will intuitively feel the need to reach out, and you will, but that is because you're in those early stages where you don't really know about how this dynamic works. And you are reaching out from fear. Even if it doesn't feel like that, even if it just seems like, no, we're just in touch and I was thinking of them, so I reached out. Really, that was again another oscillation where if you had waited, Divine Masculine would have reached out to you, but instead you got nervous, and rather than knowing how to alchemize, you reached out to them. And that's fine in those early stages, because it's not where you stay with it. So if someone is just telling you to reach out if you want, give it a beat, give it a pause. Is this my intuition or is this the mind? Is this just me wanting to rationalize reaching out? Because really, when you progress on this thing, when you move along this thing, you're not going to have that questioning. Your reaching out comes from a very neutral place, but that's not until you've really gone into that inner union and they're showing up in the physical, in a sacred energy, in that union frequency that is moving in, that you're able to stay centered. And contacting them, not contacting them, it's not a big deal. But when you're thinking about it, going over it again and again, should I, shouldn't I, that's not the energy that the feminine, acts from. She uses that to alchemize. So, yes, use your intuition, but first take the time to understand what that is, how to work with it. It does not steer you wrong, but it is not the voice of the mind. It is not the stories. It is not the looping. It is not the 50 different scenarios for, one issue that arises. And the best way to start is putting your hand on your heart, asking the question, and getting that simple yes or no. That's where you begin. I am sending you so much love. If you need more help, my Twin Flame course is there. My one-on-ones are there.